I work in this site for many years. These warriors are all life-sized, like real soldiers.
In 2025, scientists finally solved the Terracotta Army mystery, and it isn't good. What they discovered beneath the surface stunned the archaeological world and left even mainstream commentators like Jesse Waters asking, why is no one talking about this? For decades, the site in Xi'an was seen as a monument to ancient glory. But new findings have exposed a disturbing truth hidden in plain sight. Toxic elements, buried secrets, and an emperor's obsession with eternal control. This isn't just history, it's a warning. And once you hear what researchers uncovered, you'll never look at the Terracotta warriors the same way again. The discovery that changed everything. In the spring of 1974, a group of farmers digging a well near Xi'an made a discovery that would shift the world's understanding of ancient China. At first, it looked like nothing more than broken pottery. But as officials investigated further, what emerged from the dusty earth was a scene unlike anything ever seen before. Rows upon rows of life-sized clay soldiers, all standing at attention, frozen in time for over 2,000 years. These figures weren't scattered fragments. They were warriors, detailed down to the folds in their robes, the strands of their hair, and the intensity in their eyes. Some stood ready with crossbows, others held swords or spears. All of them faced east, as if still guarding the emperor they were created to protect. Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor to unify China under one rule. As archaeologists dug deeper, the scale became almost unbelievable. There were not dozens or hundreds of these figures. There were thousands. Infantry, archers, chariots, cavalry, even generals, each one unique. The sheer ambition of it suggested a ruler obsessed with control, power, and life beyond death. This wasn't just a tomb, it was a military empire replicated underground. Soon it became clear that this was just one part of a much larger complex. Beneath the hills surrounding the site, ground-penetrating radar revealed an enormous necropolis stretching over 38 square miles. Somewhere at the center of it all was the unopened tomb of the emperor himself. According to ancient texts, that tomb was a marvel of engineering, said to contain palaces, rivers of mercury, and a ceiling embedded with pearls to mimic the night sky. And yet, it remained untouched. Despite the technological advancements in archaeology, Chinese officials refused to open the emperor's tomb. On the surface, the reasoning seemed noble, a desire to preserve what remained until excavation techniques improved. But as time passed, questions began to rise. What were they really waiting for? What were they afraid of uncovering? In the decades that followed the discovery, teams of researchers and scientists carefully excavated different pits surrounding the tomb. What they found wasn't just artistry, it was precision. The statues were built with standardized molds, suggesting some form of ancient mass production. Their weapons, though buried for centuries, were still sharp, with little to no rust. The bronze blades had a strange sheen to them, as though they had been chemically protected. This caught the attention of metallurgists, who found that many of the weapons had traces of chromium, a substance rarely seen in use before the 20th century. How had artisans over 2,000 years ago discovered a method to coat bronze weapons in chromium to resist corrosion? The find baffled scientists and pushed many to wonder what other lost technologies the Qin dynasty had developed. Meanwhile, researchers measuring the soil composition around the tomb detected something even more disturbing: abnormally high levels of mercury. It matched descriptions from ancient records that claimed the emperor's tomb was built with rivers and lakes of the toxic element, designed to mimic the geography of China. But these weren't just symbolic metaphors. The levels detected were real and dangerously high. What was once seen as a display of funerary honor began to feel more like a hidden agenda. What kind of man builds a fortress underground, fills it with warriors, and surrounds himself with poison? 50 years after its discovery, the Terracotta Army continues to be one of the most iconic and mysterious sites on Earth. But in 2025, scientists would find something buried deeper than clay.